This 20-minute film was produced to encourage pro-life people everywhere to join with us in an unprecedented appeal to the bishops of Mexico to have a sonogram taken on the Tilma of Juan Diego. We believe that Our Lady of Guadalupe, under the title Protectress of the Unborn, wants to give the world another miraculous sign to help end the terrible sin of abortion. Our mother chose a humble priest to bring this message to the world. His name was Father Walter Winrich. Father Walter was a Marino missionary to the Mayan Indians in Mexico for nearly 50 years, and through him, her own miraculous image on the Tilma of Juan Diego is now recognized around the world as the missionary image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. This 20-minute film tells Father Walter's story and why he believed that Our Lady wanted a sonogram taken on the original Tilma. At the conclusion of the film, you will see the results of a sonogram that was taken on Christmas Eve in 1995 on the very first missionary image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. After we reviewed the sonogram tapes, we had to ask the question, was that really Jesus, the Divine Mercy, in her womb? We'll let you decide.
This beautiful lady's voice, inside of me, outside of me, like a bell. Beautiful. 4 words. Have a sonogram taken. That's all. Excuse me, please. What does the word sonogram mean? With this one tall, liberated woman, she stares at me. What do you want to know for?
My name is Glenn Galbraith. I live in San Antonio, Texas. In 1991, I was at an International Rosary Congress in Washington, D.C. At that time, I met a little priest that had been a Marino missionary working with the Mayan Indians in the Yucatan Peninsula for the past 40 years at that time. His name is Father Walter Winrich. Father Winrich had an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that he had taken from the Basilica in Mexico City. It had been blessed by the bishop there, literally behind the image, the original Tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe. He told me he was planning to take her to Belize so that people there would see her as their mother, as the woman clothed in the sun. The image that Father Walter took down to Belize actually happened to be a half-size image, a smaller image, and this was the one that traveled with him and constantly for the next 5 years during the winter months. When he left on Sunday at 12 noon. At that time, a miracle of the sun appeared over him in Mexico City. Father Walter did not know that was happening, but relatives of people in the Yucatan Peninsula saw it and called their relatives at Campeche Airport where he landed. When he landed, the people there surrounded him and wanted to know what was happening with this image of Our Lady. When Father Walter came up to the International Rosary Congress, he was hearing confessions, and when he was through, he was praying in front of the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe in the chapel, and he came running out, and there were 3 women that were walking by, and he immediately stopped them and said, "What is a sonogram?" They kind of got embarrassed and laughed and said, "Oh, Father, you know what a sonogram is." And he explained to them he had been a Marino missionary in the Yucatan with the Mayan Indians for 40 years, and no, he didn't know what a sonogram was. And they tried to explain to him that the procedure of a sonogram, usually on the belly of a pregnant woman, to see if she was in fact blessed with a new life inside of her, and if it was, then it would be seeing the images of the baby inside of her, specifically to see a heartbeat or whatever other features the doctor was looking for at the time of the sonogram. What he shared with me at the time, and with straight astonishment, was that as he was praying to Our Lady of Guadalupe in that chapel, he heard the words, "having a sonogram taken."
They called me to help Conchita Gonzalez of God in Bandel pray the rosary in English. She knew the rosary in English better than I did. Anyway, I'm there. Afterwards, I went into the confessional, which happens to be the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe at the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. I'm hearing confessions. The last confession was Conchita Gonzalez. And I won't say what she said. Okay. She got up and she pointed her finger at me and she said, "Father, you are being called to a very great word," and left. What could possibly be a great word? I think I followed Our Lady of Fatima around Mexico, that should be enough. Well, she says, "A great word? Well, what is it?" And this beautiful lady's voice, inside of me, outside of me, like a bell. Beautiful. 4 words. "Have a sonogram taken." That's all. No more. That's the message. I don't know what the word sonogram means, so I go out there, and in the corridor, people are returning their places. Stop 3 women. "Excuse me, please. What does the word sonogram mean?" Boy, this one tall, liberated woman stares at me. "What do you want to know for?" So I explained it. The voice came to me, the woman's voice. They have a sonogram taken. So they told me what the sonogram was. And the voice, who's the voice? Probably our Blessed Mother. She wants a sonogram taken because there she is. Lady Guadalupe up there, she probably wants a picture of the child Jesus taking the moon. But what am I going to do about it? They said, "Go up to the main altar where the Blessed Sacrament is exposed and say your prayers up there, and he'll tell you." So I go up there and pray, and people are coming in. Father Pareja, the Mary moved the priest, taps me on the shoulder and says, "Father, you're on. You're going to give a talk right now." The priest who was just going to give the talk phoned. He says he can't come. And so you're on. You brought the image. You tell all the people what you know about Our Lady of Guadalupe, and that's okay. You got half hour. So I did 20 minutes. I ended the talk with the words, "Have a sonogram taken." And dead silence. Dead silence. Finally someone started to clap. They all clapped. Then they stood up and cheered like a football game between Notre Dame and Army. This is in the Basilica of the Immaculate. I took off to the sacristy, got my little bag, down the back steps, taxi cab to the airport, and off to Seattle, Washington.
Following the International Rosary Congress, I started taking the smaller image of the traveling image of Our Lady of Guadalupe and going to different places as Dan Lynch was taking the large missionary image given by the bishops of Mexico to different parts of the United States. The winter months I would meet with Father Walter at the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City, close to the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe on December the 11th and 12th, and give the image back to him where he would take her back to the Yucatan Peninsula, and the native Indians, the Mayans, would take her again traveling south into the different countries of Central America. All the time, Father Walter was concerned about what was the sonogram. Why did he have this thought from Our Lady? What was she intending it to be? And so he was constantly trying to get permission from Bishop, or the Abbot Schulenburg, to have a sonogram taken of the original Tilma hanging on the wall. And at this time, there was quite concern that from Abbot Schulenburg of the security and safety of the Tilma, and Father Walter kept getting told no. He was thoroughly convinced this was something he was supposed to do for Our Lady. And even though our Abbot Schulenburg had told us no more than once, Father Walter didn't give up. He consistently, every time I would go back down there, was consistently asking bishops, monsignors, whoever worked at the basilica, for any way to try and convince the abbot that we were not going to harm the Tilma, that this was nothing that was going to take away from the status of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City, that this would just be an embellishment of the fact that this is a miraculous image, a living miracle. He would constantly come back like a little barking dog, trying over and over and over again to get permission on the Tilma. The last time I was involved with that was December 25th, 1993. There were a group of us in excess of 40. Father Walter had contacted a doctor that did sonograms. He even brought his own sonogram machine. It appeared that the doctor had permission, and we were all there. And Father Walter, and I don't know how, but for whatever way and whatever reason, he had discerned that the appropriate time or the best time to take this sonogram would be at midnight on December 25th. And so we were there at midnight on December 25th, which at that time the abbot again said no.
He asked Betty, my wife, and I to come down with my video equipment to do the video aspects of the sonogram. And we got down there, and like Glenn told us before, there were quite a number of us. Some of them praying, some of them supporting, and that sort of thing. And ultimately, in '93, it was refused. It didn't happen. Then in '94, he again asked us to come down under the same circumstances. Everything was ready to go. And we got down there to find that Abbot Schulenburg was out of town and unavailable. So that stymied this effort. So the third time, Father called and he says, "We're going to try again." And I said, "Father, I don't think so. I believe that they're going to refuse you again. They've already done this twice." And I had been thinking about it, and I suggested to him a circumstance where we would go to a major hospital, if I could set it up, and do that in Denver. So he says, "Why don't you go ahead and try?" We had a plexiglass table which I put together, and we had these images in the auditorium of the hospital. Father would offer a mass on that plexiglass table with an image of Canada. This is a paper copy of the Our Lady of Guadalupe for Canada, one for the United States, and one for Mexico. And Father was allowed to say 2 masses in a day. So Christmas Eve, he offered a mass for the Canadian picture, for the United States picture, and immediately after the mass was over, they would wheel in the ultrasound machine from the department, set it up and would put the gel onto the pictures and actually do an ultrasound on that picture and the table. And then after midnight, we did the next Mass for the Mexican picture. These were dedicated pictures for these countries. And after that was done, each of these ultrasounds had a videotape in the belly of the machine. So everything that was used with a transducer, as they would swipe the transducer back and forth on the picture, everything that was done there would be recorded. And after the third Mass, then one of the people identified that, Father, you have the small image, the one that Glenn had spoken about traveling through South America. Father said, yes, it's right here. So they put that on the table and did the ultrasound on that image. During that period, there were some manifestations, both in the auditorium where everyone in the room saw a flash of light on the screen in the auditorium. And the next day, Christmas Day, we started reviewing these videotapes and identified there were some manifestations. Since we were all looking for a child in the sonogram, it was decided amongst the group that nothing would be done. And at that point, they were put into cold storage and safekeeping. And that is where we ended that aspect of this whole procedure.